Welcome back to the deep dive. We are continuing our journey today with building a human.
Hmm.
This is episode 4 in our series. And if you have been with us from the start, you know we aren't just reading generic parenting tips
No.
or, trying to figure out how to get a toddler to eat broccoli.
Right.
We are trying to do something, I think, much more fundamental. We are trying to decode the underlying operating system of the human child.
That is such a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the source code.
Exactly.
It's less about how to manage behavior and so much more about how to understand the being.
Exactly. And before we get into the heavy lifting today, and trust me, it is going to be a fascinating ride, we have to acknowledge the team that makes this specific deep dive possible. We're partnering with the Al Mahabba Foundation and the Dar al Kalima Publishing House.
That's a great partnership.
They've provided us with the source text, specifically the works of Maria Montessori, which are really, the bedrock of what we're unpacking.
It's such a great fit because their mission aligns so well with this topic.
It really does.
It's all about understanding the human being so we can actually serve them rather than just manage them.
Right.
And as we'll see today, that distinction between serving and managing is, well, it's everything. It's the difference between aiding development and actually hindering it.
Serve, not manage. I like that. I like that a lot. So let's set the stage. In the last episode, we talked about the absorbent mind.
Yes.
This idea that a child's brain is like a sponge, just soaking up everything in the environment without any filter.
Right.
It was a bit overwhelming, honestly, the idea that everything we do is being recorded.
It is overwhelming. It represents the hardware. It's the machine that makes learning possible.
Okay.
But a machine needs software, and it needs a schedule for updates.
Right. So today we are talking about that schedule. We're talking about timing, but not, like you said, looking at a clock on the wall. We're talking about biological timing.
Precisely. The internal clock.
I want to start with a scenario because I think every single person listening has dealt with this or at least witnessed it in a grocery store.
Oh, for sure.
You're walking down the street with a toddler. You have an agenda. You need to get to the car or the store or daycare. You're an adult. You have places to be.
Yes.
And suddenly the child stops.
Dead stop.
Dead stop. Cement shoes.
And usually they're looking at something completely irrelevant to your agenda.
Totally irrelevant. It is rarely something majestic like a sunset. It is an ant.
An ant.
Or a crack in the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Or a piece of lint. And they are mesmerized. They are just frozen in place. And you, the adult, are standing there checking your watch thinking, it's a bug. We've seen bugs. Let's go.
It creates this immense friction, doesn't it?
It does.
Or think about the indoor version of this.
Yeah.
The shoe lineup.
Oh, a shoe lineup.
You ask a child to put their shoes away, and instead of just tossing them in the bin like a normal person, they spend 20 minutes lining them up, toe to toe, perfectly parallel. And if you nudge one by an inch...
Oh, it's World War III.
Absolute chaos. Screaming, crying, throwing themselves on the floor.
See, this is what I want to get into. Because usually we write this off. We say, oh, kids are weird, or they're just testing boundaries.
They're being difficult.
Right, they're being difficult. We pathologize it or we just dismiss it. But looking at the source material from Dar al Kalima today, that interpretation is completely wrong, isn't it?
It's fundamentally wrong. If you see that behavior as weirdness or naughtiness, you are missing the entire point of development.
The whole point.
You're witnessing a biological imperative. You're seeing a sensitive period in action.
Sensitive period. Okay, so that is our key term for today.
It is.
Now, to the uninitiated, sensitive sounds emotional, like, oh, he's going through a sensitive phase, he cries a lot.
Right.
But that is not how Montessori uses the word here, is it?
No, not at all. Sensitive period is a technical biological term in this context. Think of it less like an emotion and more like a window of opportunity.
A window.
It's a specific block of time in development where the organism, the child, is biologically primed, almost aggressively programmed to acquire a specific skill or trait.
So it's not a mood, it's a program running in the brain.
Exactly. And it's something we see all across nature, not just in humans. For example, there's a sensitive period for a caterpillar to eat a certain type of leaf. If it misses that period, it dies.
Wow.
For the human child, these periods are about psychological and functional growth.
So it's a temporary state.
That is the most critical part, and it's the part parents often miss because the days feel so long.
Right.
It's temporary. It stays open for a specific duration, and then it shuts.
The source material uses a really evocative image for this. It describes it like a spotlight.
It is the perfect analogy. Imagine a dark stage. The stage represents the child's entire potential for learning everything they could possibly know in the future.
Math, language, social skills, everything.
Everything. But they can't learn it all at once. The system would just crash. So biology turns on a spotlight.
And that spotlight hits just one area.
Exactly. Suddenly the light shines brilliantly on language, or it shines on order or movement. And when that light is on, the child has an almost supernatural ability to learn that specific thing.
You say supernatural. That's a heavy word for a science-based discussion.
I use it to describe the ease of the learning. That's what sets the sensitive period apart from regular learning.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. When an adult learns a new skill, say, learning to code or learning a new language, how does it feel?
It feels like work. It feels like grinding. It's flashcards, fatigue, headache. You have to force yourself to sit down and do it.
Right. It requires willpower. It requires conscious effort.
A lot of it.
But during a sensitive period, the child learns without any effort. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like breathing. They are compelled by an inner drive to do it. It brings them immense joy. They aren't studying the ant. They are consuming the concept of the ant. They aren't practicing walking. They're driven to walk.
So if the spotlight is on, learning is effortless. It's just absorption.
Yes. It's a metabolism of knowledge. They just eat it up.
But you mentioned the window closes. What happens when the spotlight turns off?
And that is the deep dive warning label. That's why we're doing this. When the window closes, the superpower fades away.
Does that mean if you miss the window, you can never learn the skill? Like, if you miss the language window, are you mute forever?
No. And we need to be careful not to panic, listeners. It doesn't mean the skill is impossible to acquire. Humans are incredibly adaptable.
Okay.
We can learn until the day we die, but, and this is a massive distinction, the nature of the learning changes.
How so?
It shifts from that effortless absorption to what the text calls sweat and tears.
Sweat and tears. That sounds ominous.
It's the reality of adult learning. Think about the language example again. If a child is exposed to language during the sensitive period, roughly birth to age 6, they learn grammar, syntax, accent, vocabulary, all of it, without ever opening a textbook.
Right.
They don't study conjugation charts. They just become a speaker.
They absorb it. It just sort of happens.
Now, you try to learn Thai or Arabic or German when you're 35?
It's a nightmare. I have tried. You're translating in your head. You're stumbling over sounds. You forget words immediately. You have to study.
That is the difference between learning during a sensitive period and learning after it. During the period, it's a gift of nature. After the period, it's a conquest of the will.
Conquest of the will.
So our mission today is really to help you, the listener, identify where that spotlight is shining right now. Because if we miss it, we aren't destroying the child, but we are making their future life significantly harder.
We're turning an easy ride into an uphill battle.
Precisely. We're forcing them to use sweat and tears for something that nature intended to be free.
Okay, so let's get tangible. Because I know parents listening are thinking, okay, great theory, but why is my kid screaming about the cup?
Right.
The sources highlight several of these periods, but there are two specifically that seem to cause the most conflict between parents and children. The first one is the sensitive period for order.
Yes,
Yeah.
This is the big one. This is usually the source of the so-called terrible twos.
A terrible twos. Yeah, that phrase alone implies that the child is the problem. But let's look at the scenario. The famous cup crisis.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so you have a 2-year-old. You set the table for lunch. Every day, you put the red cup on the right side. Today, without thinking, maybe the red cup is dirty or you just weren't paying attention, you put the red cup on the left side. Or maybe you give them the blue cup.
A fatal error in the eyes of the child.
Apparently, because the child looks at the cup and it is not just a complaint, it is a meltdown.
Full meltdown.
Screaming, crying, pointing. And as a parent, your internal monologue is, it is just a cup. Drink the juice. Why are you being so controlling?
Controlling, manipulative, tyrant. These are the words we use. We think the child is trying to dominate us.
Yeah.
We think, if I give in, I'm letting him win. But if we put on our sensitive period glasses, the reality is heartbreakingly different.
So what is actually happening in their brain? Why does the blue cup cause a catastrophe?
You have to understand what order means to a child of that age. To you and me, order is a preference.
Right.
I like a clean desk. You might not mind a messy one. It's aesthetic. It's optional. If my desk is messy, I can still do my job.
Sure, I can function in a messy room. It's annoying, but it's not paralyzing.
For a young child, order is existential. The source material uses this brilliant phrase, order is the ground they walk on.
The ground they walk on, that suggests that without it, they fall.
Exactly. Let's do a thought experiment.
Mm.
Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning. You walk out of your bedroom, but the floor feels soft like a sponge.
Okay.
And the door handle is on the floor instead of the middle of the door. And the sun is green. And gravity seems to be pulling you sideways.
I would be terrified. I would think I was having a stroke or the world was ending. I wouldn't be able to function.
You would feel a deep, primal sense of disorientation. Panic.
Yeah.
That is what the child feels when their environment is disordered.
Because they're new here.
They're new here.
Yeah.
They're aliens on a new planet. They're in the process of building their internal mental structure. They're constructing the map of the world in their head.
Mm.
Now think about cartography. To draw an accurate map of a territory, what does the territory need to do?
It needs to stay still.
It needs to stay still. If the mountains keep moving and the rivers change course every 5 minutes, you cannot draw the map. You cannot orient yourself.
That is such a powerful distinction, internal versus external. They need the outside to be steady so they can build the inside.
Yes, that is the crux of it.
Yeah.
So when you move the cup to the wrong side, you aren't just moving a piece of plastic. You are shaking the ground they walk on. You are disrupting the map they are frantically trying to draw. The scream isn't a power trip. It is a panic response. It feels cataclysmic to them. They are signaling, my world is breaking.
So when we see a child obsessively lining up cars or insisting that we follow the bedtime routine exactly, bath, then book, then song, never song, then book, that's not OCD. That's not them being spoiled.
No. That is the spotlight shining on order. They are telling you, I need stability to develop. They are building the intellectual foundation for logical thinking, for sequence, for cause and effect.
Logical thinking from lining up shoes.
Absolutely. Think about it. What is logic? It's sequence. It's categorization. It's knowing where things belong.
Right.
Logic is based on order. It is based on A comes before B. If a child lives in chaos, where rules change randomly and objects disappear and reappear without reason, it's much harder for them to develop a structured, logical mind. The external order becomes the internal mental order.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have to play devil's advocate here.
Please do.
Because the parenting advice we often get from older generations, from social media, is don't let the child dictate the house rules. You have to show them who is boss.
Right.
If I move the cup back every time they scream, am I not just spoiling them? Am I not teaching them that they get whatever they want?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the answer from our source material is a hard no. You are not spoiling them. You are supporting them.
Okay.
We have to distinguish between a whim and a developmental need.
So how do we distinguish between spoiling and supporting?
Spoiling is giving a child something they want but do not need, like a second candy bar or staying up late to watch TV or a toy they saw in a commercial.
Right. A want.
Supporting is giving a child something they need for development. In this window, roughly age 1 to 4, they need order. It is as vital as calcium for their bones.
So the mandate is surrender.
The mandate is respect the child's need for order, do not fight it. The phrase I love for this is, don't be the chaos in their organized world.
Don't be the chaos. Wow, that puts the responsibility back on the adult.
It does. We are the adults. We have fully formed prefrontal cortexes. We can handle the cup being on the left. We can handle the change. They cannot.
Right.
So the service we provide, and remember our motto of service, is to protect that order for them. We act as the stabilizer.
So practically speaking, if my kid wants the shoes lined up, I let them line up the shoes. If they need the red cup, I get the red cup.
You let them line up the shoes. You protect their routine. You keep their environment predictable. You are being the steady rock so they can build their house. You aren't being a servant to their whims. You are being a guardian of their development.
It really reframes the frustration. Instead of thinking, why are you doing this to me? You think, oh, you are building your brain right now. I'll wait. I will help you fix the map.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective is everything. It turns a conflict into a moment of connection. You stop being the enemy and start being the ally.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when parents start respecting this need for order, the tantrums often just vanish because the child feels safe.
That is fascinating. It is amazing how much conflict comes from simple misunderstanding of biology.
It really is.
Okay, I want to pivot to the second sensitive period the source material highlights. Because while order is about screaming and chaos, this one is about stalling.
The tiny details phase.
The ant phase. I have lived this so many times.
We all have. It's the classic late for school struggle.
So the scenario again, you are rushing, you are late, and the child squats down on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
You look to see what caught their attention, expecting maybe a cool lizard or a shiny coin, but it is nothing. It is a speck of dust, or a generic bug,
Mm.
or the way the light hits a pebble.
And the instinct is to pull them along. Come on, hurry up. It's just a bug.
We have seen bugs before. Let's go. We are going to be late.
But here's what's happening scientifically.
Hmm.
During this specific window, usually between age 1 and 3, the child's visual and cognitive systems are going through a massive calibration process.
A calibration.
The source material describes it as being calibrated for the fine print.
The fine print of the world.
Yes. Think about how adults see the world. We are efficiency machines. We filter everything out. We look for the utility in things.
We have to. If I noticed every leaf on every tree while driving, I would crash the car.
Right.
I need to see the road signs and the traffic.
Exactly. We see the big picture. We
Yeah.
see sidewalk, car, destination. Our brains categorize and dismiss. That's a tree. Ignore it. That's a sidewalk. Ignore it.
Right.
We synthesize.
Mm.
But the child hasn't learned to ignore yet. They're in a state of profound discovery. They are seeing the texture of reality.
So they're seeing in high definition, and we're seeing in low resolution.
That is a great way to put it. They are noticing things we have long since stopped seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they stare at that ant. They aren't just zoning out. They're analyzing the movement of the legs. They're seeing the way it carries a crumb. They are noticing the contrast of the black ant against the gray cement. They are studying the physics of the world. It is deep scientific observation.
So they are working. They aren't idling.
They are working so hard. That spotlight is shining intensely on detail. They are training their attention span. They are learning how to focus.
And then we come along the giants and say, hurry up, and yank their hand.
And in doing so, we are effectively switching off the light. We are severing that connection. Imagine you are in the middle of downloading a huge, important file. Or imagine you are reading a complex, fascinating paragraph in a book, and just as you are grasping the concept, someone slams the book shut and drags you out of the room.
It's jarring. It's incredibly frustrating. You would feel violated, honestly.
It disrupts the neural pathways that are forming.
Right.
We are interrupting the work of development. We are essentially saying, your observation doesn't matter, speed matters.
But I have to be the practical voice here again.
Of course.
We have jobs. We have appointments. We can't spend 4 hours on the sidewalk looking at lint. So how do we balance this sacred observation with the fact that I need to get to the office?
It's incredibly hard. I'm not saying you should never move a child. Sometimes safety or urgent schedules take precedence.
Right.
If you are catching a flight, you move the child. But this is where the concept of service, a part of the motto of the foundation, comes into play. Parenting is a service. In this context, patience isn't just waiting. Patience is an active form of service to the developing human.
So waiting for those 5 minutes isn't wasted time?
It's an investment. That is the mindset shift. You aren't wasting 5 minutes. You are investing 5 minutes in their capacity for attention, for observation, for focus.
And if we constantly rush them?
If we constantly rush them, we are training them to skim the surface of the world. We are teaching them that details don't matter, that observation is secondary to speed. We are teaching them to be distracted. But if we wait, even just for a few minutes, we allow them to deepen their understanding. We allow them to finish the download.
It goes back to that idea of the spotlight. If the light is on detail, let them look at the details.
Precisely. Observe, don't interfere. That is the method. And let's be honest with ourselves. Often, we rush children when we don't actually need to. We rush them out of habit. We rush them because we feel frantic, not because the schedule is actually that tight.
That is a guilty realization. How often am I rushing just because I feel rushed, not because we are actually late?
Exactly. If we understand the tiny details phase, maybe we leave 5 minutes earlier. Maybe we just take a breath and realize this 60 seconds of observation is more important than me getting to the car 60 seconds faster.
Right.
It's about valuing their work as much as we value ours.
Observe, don't interfere. It sounds so simple, yet it requires so much restraint.
It requires humility. It requires realizing that the child knows what they need better than we do. We have the schedule, the external schedule of work in school, but they have the internal schedule of biology.
And biology usually wins.
Or at least biology exacts a price if you ignore it.
That brings us to the so what portion of the deep dive. We've talked about what these periods are, order and details, but I want to circle back to the consequences. We touched on the sweat and tears idea, but I want to use the other metaphor from our source material, the train station.
Yes, this is a haunting image, actually. It stays with you.
Paint the picture for us.
Think of human development like a train schedule, a very strict, biologically determined schedule. The language train arrives at the station at birth and leaves around age 6.
Okay.
The order train arrives at age 1 and leaves around age 4. The social behavior train arrives a bit later.
And the child is the passenger.
The child is the passenger waiting on the platform. If the environment, that's us, the parents, the teachers, the caregivers, helps them board the train, they glide to the destination.
A smooth ride.
It is a smooth ride. They acquire the skill naturally, happily, while looking out the window. It is effortless.
But if we block them, if we are the chaos that prevents them from boarding the order train, or if we drag them away from the details train because we're in a rush,
Then the train leaves the station without them.
and they are left on the platform.
And to get to that destination, to become an organized, articulate, coordinated adult, they now have to walk or run. They have to chase the train on foot.
That is the sweat and tears.
That is the struggle.
Huh?
Can a child who missed the sensitive period for order learn to be organized later in life? Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
But it will likely always be a struggle. They might always have to fight against chaos. They might have to use planners and apps and extreme discipline to do what another person does naturally.
Because for the person who caught the train, it's just innate.
It is part of their structure. It was built into the foundation. For the one who missed it, it's a renovation project. And renovations are always harder, more expensive, and messier than new construction.
That really drives home the stakes here. It is not just about stopping a tantrum today. It is about setting them up for ease tomorrow.
It's about removing obstacles.
Mhm.
The child wants to board the train. They are desperate to board it. Our job is simply not to stand in the doorway. We are facilitators.
It makes me think about adults I know, maybe even myself, who struggle with things like organization or language. You wonder, did I miss the train?
It is a valid question.
Hmm.
And while we can't change the past, understanding this helps us have compassion for ourselves.
Hmm.
We understand that maybe our struggle isn't a character flaw, but a missed biological window. And more importantly, it energizes us to not let it happen to the next generation. We can ensure our children catch their trains.
Right. We are the gatekeepers of the train station. We hold the schedule.
That's a great way to view it. And it simplifies parenting, in a way.
How so?
You don't have to teach them to be organized. You just have to let them be organized when the spotlight is on. You don't have to teach them to observe. You just have to let them look.
It takes the pressure off teaching and puts the focus on allowing.
Exactly. Building a human isn't about assembling parts. It's about allowing the blueprint to unfold without interference.
So let's wrap this up and synthesize what we've learned. We're shifting our perspective from seeing these behaviors, the stalling, the lining up of toys, the meltdowns over cups, as stubbornness or weirdness.
Right.
We are relabeling them as sensitivity.
Yes. The child isn't fighting you. They are fighting for their development. They are fighting to build a human.
And we have these windows, the spotlight shines, and then it moves on.
Correct.
Our goal is to catch those windows.
Use it or lose it. It's a cliche, but biologically it's the truth. Catch the light while it shines.
For those listening who want to really understand the nuance of this, because frankly, we're just scratching the surface of a very deep philosophy, where should they go?
You need to go to the source, The Secret of Childhood by Maria Montessori. It's
Mm.
available from the Dar al-Khalima Library. Reading a summary is one thing, but reading the original text gives you a depth of understanding that really changes how you see your child.
Right.
There's a spiritual dimension to her writing that we can't fully capture here. She speaks of the child with such reverence.
Support the source, support the child. I like that.
Exactly.
And looking ahead, I know we teased this a bit, but our next deep dive is going to zoom in even closer on one of these topics.
Yes. Next time, we are going to talk exclusively about order. We touched on it today with the cup, but it goes so much deeper. We're going to discuss why order is the invisible food for a child's soul.
Invisible food. I love that imagery. I cannot wait to unpack that.
It is fascinating stuff. It explains so much about the emotional life of the child.
Well, this has been another eye-opening session. I feel like I need to go apologize to my kids for all the times I rushed them past a bug.
We all do. But now we know better, so we can do better. That's the beauty of this process. We learn, we adjust, we serve.
Exactly. Thank you for guiding us through this, and thank you to our listener for being part of building a human. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's understanding
And service.
and service. As we sign off, we leave you with our motto, brought to you by the Almahaba Foundation: love for all, service for everyone.
Love for all, service for everyone.
See you in the next deep dive.